Revealed, the heartwarming moment a black maid stood up for a billionaire abandoned by his lawyer. Mariah stepped into the glitzy penthouse, heart pounding. The view of downtown Chicago stretched out like a shimmering sea of lights below her, but there was a storm brewing inside. Billionaire Nathaniel Carter sat hunched over his grand mahogany desk, looking every bit the rich man consumed by despair. Just days away from a courtroom showdown and weeks since he lost his wife, he wore a look that spoke of heartbreak and vulnerability, stripped of the armor of his wealth. Mariah felt a knot in her chest as she picked up a feather duster, preparing for her daily routine and bracing herself to face his silent grief. As she moved through the living room filled with expensive art and that unmistakable scent of money, Mariah recalled her grandmother's words, "We work hard for those we love, we lift each other up." Her thoughts were interrupted as she dared to speak to him. "Mr. Carter, have you eaten today?" He blinked, caught off guard, then waved a dismissive hand. It pained her to see a man so mighty feel so small. Amid her own trials, caring for her ailing mother, Mariah found strength in the shared humanity that connected them. She had seen him at his lowest, and she couldn't help but feel a deep compassion for him. Every day, the stress of their lives felt heavier, and soon, it became too much to ignore. Mariah decided it was time to step beyond her role and give him the support he truly needed. One afternoon, she struck up a conversation with George, her retired neighbor, whose weathered hands held the wisdom of years. "You know," George said, leaning closer, "that Nathaniel fella could use a friend. This city loves to tear down those at the top, forgetting they bleed just like us." They hummed together in agreement, a spark ignited between them, one believing in the power of action. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Their mission grew, showing the world Nathaniel's heart, hidden beneath his wealth. But as they prepared for a pivotal community meeting, doubts crept in. What if their plan flopped? What if Nathaniel's pain remained unseen? The air thrummed with uncertainty as Mariah sat across from Nathaniel, who looked lost, questioning her motives. "Why do you care?" he whispered, raw emotion spilling from his eyes. "It's not about the money, Nathaniel. It's about the person," Mariah replied, her voice steady, her heart racing. The moment was electric, their struggles revealing a shared understanding deeper than class. The room filled with breaths held tight in anticipation of that community meeting, where judgments could fall heavy or lift spirits high. In a heartbeat, tension crackled as Mariah steeled herself, ready to speak for both of them until a news alert flashed on the screen, sending everything into chaos. And there they stood, at the crossroads of change, hearts pounding, questions lurking in the air. Would they find their voices amidst the noise, or would despair drown their hopes entirely? Mariah's fingers trembled slightly as she laced them together, trying to find the courage within herself. The news alert blared through the room, a cacophony of dread and urgency. A familiar name flashed on the screen: a rival company accusing Nathaniel of misconduct, aiming to dismantle his empire at the most vulnerable moment. "Can you believe this?" Nathaniel's voice broke, raw and hoarse. The shattered pride of a man who had worn his title like armor now crumbled. Mariah could feel the fracture of his spirit reflecting in her heart. A damning headline could ruin a life, a reputation, and the very essence of who he was. "You can't let them take your voice," she said fiercely, standing a little taller, channeling the fire of her ancestors. "You fought so hard to build what you have. Don't let them twist your truth." He looked up, eyes wide, disbelief flickering like a candle in the wind. "What do you know of my battles, Mariah?" "I know more than you think," she said, each word shooting straight from her heart. "We all have battles, some fought behind closed doors, some right in front of the world. I care because you matter, not just as a billionaire but as a human being. For a moment, the room was silent, save for the murmurs of the news anchor's voice. Nathaniel's gaze softened, his back straightening ever so slightly as if a weight lifted. "Maybe I need to hear that I feel so alone," he confessed, desperation cloaked in sincerity. Mariah nodded, feeling the tension shift. "You're not alone, Mr. Carter. It's time we show everyone the real you. Let them see the man behind the headline." "But how? With what power?" His doubt loomed heavy, cutting through the hopeful air. "Start with the community meeting," she replied, her voice steadying. "We can tell your story together. Show your vulnerabilities. People crave realness. They want to connect." Nathaniel hesitated, then slowly nodded. The idea ignited something in him, a flicker of hope rekindling a long-dead fire. Mariah could see it. He was beginning to believe. "Let us work on it. I'll gather stories, testimonials from those you've helped. People who know your heart," Mariah suggested. "All right," he murmured, a fragile spark of determination igniting his features. "I'll do it." Just then, a loud knock interrupted their moment. Mariah exchanged a worried glance with Nathaniel. The atmosphere changed, tension rocketing back as the door swung open to reveal two men in dark suits, an air of foreboding trailing them. Mariah's heart raced. Were they here to further dismantle Nathaniel? "Mr. Carter, we need to discuss your upcoming court appearance." "Time is of the essence," one agent announced, his tone flat, almost mechanical. Nathaniel's face contorted in distress, and for a fleeting moment, Mariah felt the pull of defeat inching back. But she would not allow it. She drew a deep breath, grounding herself, refusing to let despair return. Before Nathaniel could falter again, she stepped forward. "Whatever your plans are," she said, voice steady, "he will be ready. And I'm not going anywhere." The agents exchanged glances, surprise written across their faces. But the urgency hung in the air, reminding Mariah of the stakes. As Nathaniel looked at her, hope glistened in his eyes, igniting a fire. Together, they would face the storm, fight for his truth, and unveil the heart beneath the wealth. But as the agents pressed on with their information, the door swung open again, and another surprise entered. The ex-lawyer, now sporting a sheepish look, begging for a second chance. Mariah could sense the air shift. The real battle was about to begin. Would Nathaniel let him back into his life, or was it time to trust new allies? The answer hung in the balance, waiting for the next heartbeat. Mariah felt the tension tighten around her like a vice as the ex-lawyer stepped into the room. His eyes flickered anxiously between Nathaniel and her, the weight of regret heavy on his shoulders. Mariah could sense Nathaniel's hesitation, the storm brewing in his chest. "Nathaniel, please give me a chance to explain," the lawyer stammered, his voice trembling slightly. "I messed up. I know that. But I can fix this. I've got connections, resources. Nathaniel interrupted, his voice sharp like a blade. He took a step back, a mixture of anger and disbelief flooding his expression. "What good are your connections now, when you let us down at the most critical time?" Mariah watched as Nathaniel's vulnerability hardened into defense. She had seen that look before, the walls that went up when trust had been broken. Yet, she needed him to remember what mattered in this moment. "Let him speak, Nathaniel," she urged gently. "We need every voice we can gather, even if they stumbled." The lawyer's gaze met hers, a flicker of hope shining through his fear. "I didn't just let you down," he said quietly, his voice gathering strength. "I believed the rumors. I thought that taking the easy road would shield us from this mess, but all it did was put you in deeper trouble." Nathaniel's fists clenched at his sides, a deep ache growing in his chest. "You thought. You went against everything we built together based on hearsay." Mariah stepped in closer to Nathaniel and placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "You can't afford to isolate yourself again. The enemy is out there, and we need all the help we can find, even if it feels wrong." Glancing away, Nathaniel weighed his options like a desperate gambler. Could he really risk bringing this man back into his life? The headlines taunted him, "Billionaire betrayed by lawyer." I can help you with damage control," the lawyer stuttered, earnestness dripping from every syllable. "I know the ins and outs of the prosecution's case. I can prepare you. We can strategize together." Nathaniel turned to Mariah, searching her eyes. "Can I trust him?" She noticed the flicker of uncertainty in his gaze, a man still caught between hurt and hope. "Trust is earned, Nathaniel. But sometimes we have to trust in the possibility of redemption, for ourselves and for others." Silence enveloped the room as Nathaniel processed her words. The news alert had brought chaos, but now a chance for resolution hung in the air. "Fine," he said at last, voice low but firm. "You can stay. But one mistake again, and that'll be the end of it." The lawyer's shoulders sagged with relief, and he nodded vigorously. "I promise. I won't let you down again." Mariah felt a small weight lift, an inkling of unity forming amidst the uncertainty. They had a long road ahead, but maybe they could navigate this storm together. Yet, just as their tentative collaboration began to take shape, Mariah heard another knock, sharper this time, almost demanding. The door opened to reveal a local journalist with a notepad, excitement practically oozing from him. "Mr. Carter. I need a word about those accusations," he exclaimed, eyes wild with ambition. Mariah's heart raced. "What now?" she whispered, panic rising. There was no escaping the storm now. Would Nathaniel be ready to stand tall before the media, or would he crumble under the pressure of the looming truth? The air was thick with uncertainty, and all eyes were on him. Nathaniel's heart pounded as he faced the journalist, his gaze fixed on the eager man with the notepad poised to catch every word. The anxiety crackled in the air like electricity. One misstep, and the fragile glimmer of hope they had just built could shatter. "Please, just give us a moment," Nathaniel said, trying to keep his voice steady. But the journalist wouldn't wait. "Everyone wants to know what's happening, Mr. Carter. Your lawyer's reputation is in tatters, and the allegations against you have become the talk of the town. Don't you owe it to your supporters to address it?" Mariah caught Nathaniel's eye, sensing the storm within him. He needed strength, not just from her but from within himself. Her heart raced, torn between wanting him to speak his truth and fearing how the world might twist it. "We can strategize later," Mariah whispered, stepping closer, "but first, just take a breath. You control your story." The lawyer, standing a step back, shifted nervously, nodding in apparent agreement. "I'll prepare you for this, Nathaniel. Trust me, we can manage the narrative." "Just know," Nathaniel cut him off, his voice rising, resonant with a sudden determination that surprised them all. "This is my story to tell, not yours." The journalist raised his pen, ready to jot down every word. "Then what's it going to be?" "Your silence speaks volumes." "But words can turn the tide." Nathaniel took a deep breath, grounding himself in the storm brewing outside. "There have been mistakes. But I am not the man the press has painted. Yes, I trusted someone who failed to protect me, but I will not be defined by someone else's betrayals." He felt something shift in the room. Was it hope? Was it the realization that he owned this moment? "Please," the journalist pressed, leaning forward, "an exclusive could change everything for you." At that moment, Mariah felt the warmth of his hand wrap around hers, a silent sign of unity. Trust blossomed, and she knew he was ready to confront his past. "Everyone makes mistakes," Nathaniel continued, his voice firm but gentle. "I'm not perfect, and I stand here, battling against the tide, to reclaim my truth. This isn't just about me. It's about those whose lives have been affected by this mess. It's time we start discussing the bigger picture. How misinformation can ruin lives." The journalist paused, noting the raw sincerity in Nathaniel's expression. This wasn't the billionaire they had anticipated demolishing. This was a man taking responsibility, a leader emerging from ruins, asserting his dignity against the odds. Your audience doesn't want to hear a platitude, Nathaniel, the journalist replied, almost faltering. They want the dirt so they can tear you down further. Let them, Nathaniel replied, his voice rising with defiance. I'm done hiding. If they choose to believe the worst, that's on them. But I will stand tall, and I will advocate for those who can't. Mariah's heart soared. This was the man she had always known was in there, waiting for the chance to break free. The journalist looked at him, scribbling furiously. Varied emotions flickered across his face. I'll write what you said, but expect backlash, he warned. I do. But I also expect resilience, Nathaniel said, a smile slowly forming on his face. Hope is stronger than any headline. As Nathaniel turned back to Mariah, they shared a moment, a silent promise of support. But just then, a new wave of panic washed over Mariah as she caught a glimpse of her phone lighting up with alerts. More journalists were arriving, gathered like sharks drawn to blood in the water. Do you think they heard? She mumbled, dread creeping in. Nathaniel's gaze hardened, determination settling on his features. Let them come, he said. I'm ready to fight not just for myself, but for everything I believe in. And I want you by my side. But her heart twisted with fear of what was to come. How far would they truly have to go to regain their lives? What if the truth they fought so hard to reclaim could destroy them in another way? Nathaniel felt the air thicken with tension. The journalists were like a storm on the horizon, and as they advanced, he braced himself, knowing the winds could change direction at any moment. Mariah's hand still clenched in his, warmth flooding his senses. It was a reminder that some things mattered more than the chaos surrounding them. The lead journalist, a wiry man with sharp features, pushed through the throng. With a barely disguised eagerness, he flashed a confident smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Mr. Carter. What is your plan going forward? Can you tell us what steps you'll take to clear your name? Nathaniel had thought a lot about this moment. What he wanted to share, what he needed to fight for, it was all coming together now. But the words still felt heavy on his tongue. He felt the pressure of despair hang in the air like a thick fog. The world outside was unforgiving, but he resolved to stand his ground. I'm here to take action, he said, the firm steadiness of his voice surprising even him. I'm going to create a foundation aimed at assisting those who've been affected by the same smear tactics that have nearly ruined me. Too many lives have been turned upside down by misinformation. A murmur rippled through the crowd, a mix of interest and skepticism. The journalist scribbled down the words, but Nathaniel could see the skepticism lingering in his eyes. Could he really save himself while also trying to help others? Your reputation is in question, Nathaniel. Is this really about altruism, or is it a way to distract people from the allegations? The journalist's eyes were sharp, pushing for the angle he wanted. Nathaniel could feel the prickling of doubt creeping in again, a nasty reminder of the shadows that lurked just behind him. Those same doubts had been choking him for too long. But Mariah's grip on his hand tightened, pulling him back into the moment, grounding him in resolve. Because there is nothing I can do to change the past, Nathaniel shot back, a fire igniting in his chest. What I can do is focus on a future where I protect others. That's my purpose now. The crowd grew silent again, grappling with the weight of his resolve. There was a shift, an acknowledgement that perhaps this was the man they all needed to see. Mr. Carter, do you really believe people will forgive you? The journalist pressed, a mix of disbelief and curiosity in his voice. Forgiveness isn't what I seek, Nathaniel replied, shaking his head slowly, madness glinting in his eye. I'm focused on being better. If I can draw attention to the stories that matter, the real victims of this chaos, then maybe I can rebuild. Maybe we can all start again. Suddenly, a woman's voice broke through the din, a soft yet undeniably strong tone. And you'll never be alone in this fight, she said. It was Linda, the maid who had been by Nathaniel's side for years. She stepped forward, her eyes blazing with conviction. I've seen how you care, how you've always helped others, even when you were hurting. Nathaniel, You've got more support than you realize. A collective intake of breath swept through the crowd. Here was someone who had been in the trenches with him. Her courage resonated, echoing in Nathaniel's chest. With that single statement, a wave of warmth washed over him. He felt hope swell, not just for himself, but for all those standing behind him. Seeing the journalist's pen still poised above the paper, he added softly, "This isn't just my story anymore. It's about community, about standing together. I hope others step forward too." Nathaniel caught Mariah's eye, and they exchanged a look that said everything. They were in this together, come what may. But in that moment, right as a flicker of hope began to illuminate the room, a piercing scream rang out from the crowd. Everyone turned, confusion erupting like wildfire. What was happening now? Was the truth worth the price of safety? Secrets swirled in the air like smoke. Who would be left standing when the dust settled? Nathaniel pivoted sharply toward the source of the scream, heart racing. The crowd erupted into chaos, bodies shifting and murmurs spiraling into disarray. Hands reached out, clutching microphones and smartphones, capturing the chaos that unfolded. Mariah instinctively stepped closer to Nathaniel, her eyes wide with fear. "What just happened?" she whispered, barely audible above the growing noise. "I don't know," he replied, straining to see past the waves of people. The moment felt surreal, like a character in a movie caught off guard by an unexpected plot twist. "Everyone, please stay calm," Nathaniel called out, projecting his voice, but it was drowned in the rising tide of anxiety. As more people turned to see what had distracted them, Nathaniel caught a glimpse of a woman stumbling backward, shaking her head in disbelief. She was young, her face pale, eyes darting around as if searching for a lifeline. Then he spotted a man at the edge of the crowd, his face twisted in anger, pointing furiously at something or someone. "Get out! Leave him alone!" the man shouted, his voice slicing through the confusion. "What is going on?" Nathaniel called, stepping forward, pushing through the throng. Each step felt heavy, uncertainty clawing at his insides. No one seemed to be answering. The young woman had fallen to her knees, clutching her phone, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Then, just to his right, there was Linda, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos. She rushed toward the young woman, dropping down beside her. "Breathe. It's okay. I'm here." "What happened? Did you see it?" "It was just there. On my screen." The girl stammered, pointing to her phone, her voice trembling. "Let us help her up," Nathaniel urged Mariah, who nodded and knelt down next to Linda. The weight of panic was slowly lifting. Together, they helped the girl to her feet, her knees shaky as she regained stability. "Sorry, everyone. I didn't mean to," she apologized, wiping tears from her cheeks. "There's a video. It's going viral. They're saying that Nathaniel Carter is involved in a scandal. Something brutal." The word sent a chill through Nathaniel. Scandal? It felt like a tidal wave crashing over him, threatening to drown him before he even had a chance to swim. "No, that can't be right," Nathaniel said, but doubt crept into his tone. He snatched the phone from the girl's grasp, his hands trembling slightly. The screen displayed a video, its thumbnail littered across social media a montage of accusations and twisted truths. He felt a hard knot form in his stomach as the footage played. It was his office, blurred faces surrounding a wild accusation. They were painting him as the villain again, weaponizing everything he had worked so hard to rebuild. "See? You can't keep hiding behind all this charity talk." The aggressive journalist who had questioned him before elbowed his way through the crowd, tauntingly. "This video will crush what's left of your reputation." Darkness crept over Nathaniel's vision. Was there any point left in fighting if the truth had become so warped? Mariah's fingers curled into his like iron, grounding him. "You can't let this define you. You are more than their narrative." He looked into her eyes, fighting against the despair that threatened to drown him. Linda, still beside him, encouraged those who had turned their focus to the commotion. Join us. We can share our own stories and show what truly matters. Nathaniel's heart began to beat a bit more steadily. But just as he contemplated the importance of community and the strength they could draw from one another, another scream pierced through the noise, but this time it was sharper, filled with unmistakable pain. Everyone froze, tension uncoiling in the air like a taut string. It was a reminder that amidst the chaos, something even darker lingered. What had just happened now? Who was in danger? With a sense of urgency pulling at him, Nathaniel took a deep breath, preparing himself to confront whatever lay ahead. Would he stand tall in the face of yet another storm? Would this time be the tipping point that revealed the strength of his resolve? As he turned to face the crowd again, a shadow fell across the ground, hinting at what might be emerging from the turmoil. In that moment, amid the rising fears, Nathaniel couldn't help but wonder, was there still hope left to grasp in the wreckage? The crowd's tension shifted, like the air before a storm. Nathaniel's heart raced faster as the screams morphed into sobs. He pushed through the throng, searching for the source of the pain that twisted his stomach into knots. There, in the very center of it all, a woman lay on the ground, her hands clutching her side. Her face was contorted in agony, and the crowd hovered, some recording, others shouting for help. Nathaniel's instincts kicked in. Make way. Someone, call for an ambulance. He shouted, his voice rising above the din. Yet, as he approached, he realized he knew her. She was Angela, a longtime staff member at the foundation he had built. Memories flooded back her laughter, her warmth, and her unwavering support. Kneeling beside her, he could see the dry tear tracks glistening on her cheeks. Angela, stay with me. Help is coming, he urged, trying to keep his voice steady. I tried to reach you, Nathaniel, she gasped between breaths, eyes darting as if seeking clarity amid the chaos. They said, they couldn't find the truth. Who, Angela? Who couldn't find the truth? At that moment, the aggressive journalist reappeared, his smug expression mingling with shock as he took in the scene. Nathaniel, this isn't good for your image. He taunted, moving closer, camera in hand. You're a monster. Someone from the crowd yelled, echoing the excitement that had shifted to genuine concern. Leave her alone. Nathaniel snapped, a fierce anger rising in him. He could feel Mariah's hand tighten in a silent plea to keep his cool. But how could he stay calm when everything he cared about was collapsing? We have to help her. Linda shouted, rallying a few others who began moving in to assist. Nathaniel could see the shift people were putting down their phones, focused now on Angela rather than the chaos surrounding Nathaniel. He took that small spark of hope, clutched it tightly within him, and focused. Stay by her side, he commanded, looking at the crowd. Help us get her out of here. Clear a path. Hands moved to lift Angela with care, each face sharing a moment of grim realization. It didn't matter who they were, to see someone in pain unified them more than anything. As they carefully transported her out of the crowd, Angela whispered, "It's all a lie, you know that, right?" Her words sliced through Nathaniel, revealing layers of uncertainty yet unwoven in his heart. "I'll make sure everyone knows," he promised, his voice firm yet laced with fear. The moment was fleeting but transformative. Suddenly, the journalist's phone rang, buzzing loudly amidst the noise. He fumbled to answer it, frustration etched on his features. Nathaniel seized the opportunity. "This isn't about me. It's about truth. It's about Angela and what really matters. Help me set the record straight." More murmurs of agreement trailed through the crowd. Nathaniel could feel the tide turning, their focus shifting from him to the urgent need at hand. For the first time, they were united by empathy, not by headlines. But then a new scream erupted from the crowd, slicing through Nathaniel's newly ignited hope. This one wasn't a cry of pain, it was a chilling accusation. What's happening? Mariah shouted, spinning to see the scene unfold. In that moment, Nathaniel realized they were not out of the woods. The crowd was still susceptible to manipulation, and another storm was brewing. As he shifted toward the source of the noise, dread loomed larger than before. Stay close. He called back to Mariah and Linda, the urgency in his voice cutting through the rising chaos. What new revelation awaited him, and would it threaten not just his reputation, but also everything he had fought for? Nathaniel's stomach dropped as he heard the accusation echo across the now fractured crowd. The voice was sharp, cutting through the air like a knife. He turned sharply, scanning the throng for the speaker. Look! He's up to something. Just like the rumors say. A young man shouted, pointing at Nathaniel, his finger nearly trembling with fervor. Nathaniel felt Mariah's grip tighten around his arm, her face a mixture of horror and determination. We need to face this head-on, she said, a hint of steel in her voice. Easier said than done. Nathaniel could read the faces in the crowd, their expressions flitted between outrage and disbelief. He took a step forward, trying to project confidence. That's not true. I'm trying to help Angela. His voice rang out, but doubts clawed at him. Help? Or cover up? Came another voice from the back, sleek with sarcasm. A ripple of murmurs spread through the gathering, crackling like static electricity. People began to withdraw, pulling away from Nathaniel and zeroing in on the sensationalism that seemed so much easier to digest than the reality around them. As if a spell were broken, he felt the weight of their judgment. The world he had built around the foundation he loved felt fragile, teetering at the edge of a dangerous abyss. The aggressive journalist inched his way back in, camera poised, an eager grin forming on his lips. This is the kind of drama the public craves. A billionaire caught in a scandal while trying to be a hero. What a story. How will you spin this, Nathaniel? Shut the hell up. A voice from the crowd yelled, but the damage had been done. They were hungry for the narrative he was desperate to break free from. For every bit of good he had tried to create, there was a growing shadow threatening to engulf it all. Get Angela to the hospital, now. Nathaniel's command cut through the rising tension, and once again, the urgency of the situation flickered brightly amid the chaos. As they moved Angela along, she looked up at him, her eyes filled with pain and something else, something close to hope. Don't be afraid. They'll turn it into a story, but you have to keep telling the truth, she rasped, her voice barely above a whisper. I will, he promised, though uncertainty crawled through his veins. But as they inched through the crowd, someone stepped forward, blocking their path. It was a woman, dressed simply, but her presence was commanding. Stop right there. She shouted, her voice like thunder. The crowd fell silent, and Nathaniel's heart raced as he recognized her. It was Patrice, a beloved maid from the Foundation's community outreach program. Everyone knew her name, her kind smile, and her no-nonsense attitude that had made her a local hero. What do you think you're doing? She asked him, her gaze piercing. You claim to care about us, but it looks like you only care about saving yourself. Nathaniel opened his mouth, searching for words that might disarm her. Patrice, please. Angela needs no. Patrice interrupted, stepping closer to him, the fire in her voice undeniable. You need to own this. Face what's happening, what's been happening. Stop running. Fear gripped Nathaniel. Her words inspired admiration in some and fueled dissent in others, a volatile mix. People started shifting again, glancing between him and her, as if waiting for the next move in a high-stakes game. It's time for the truth, Nathaniel, Patrice continued, unyielding. You can't hide behind your empire forever. This community deserves better. Something inside him stirred. He realized Patrice was right, and the crowd waited breathlessly to see what he would do next. Was this the moment he would finally take a stand? As the pressure mounted, Nathaniel felt the weight of his choices bearing down on him. Could he rise to the occasion and reclaim his narrative? Or would he succumb to the chaos swirling around him? Desperation clawed at him. The time for decisions had come, and all eyes were watching. Would he find the strength to speak his truth, or would he let the storm push him into silence? Nathaniel's heart raced, each beat thundering in his ears as he struggled to find his voice. The crowd's anticipation pressed in on him like the heavy humidity before a storm. Every face reflected a different emotion: skepticism, anger, curiosity. He felt like a man on a tightrope, and below him lay a chaotic web of doubt and expectation. Patrice's piercing gaze held him. "You could change everything, you know," she said, her voice dropping to a softer tone. "If you wanted to." A flicker of uncertainty danced in Nathaniel's mind. Could he truly change things? It felt overwhelming, like trying to fight against a raging current. But in that moment, looking into Patrice's unwavering eyes, he saw not just the challenge ahead, but the hopes of the community he had unknowingly let down. "I didn't come here to save myself," he finally declared, his voice shaking but deliberate. "I came to help. But I've been blind, caught up in my own world while this community struggles." A hush fell over the crowd, as if they were all holding their breath. The journalist adjusted his camera lens, clearly intrigued by this unexpected turn. "You want to help?" Patrice challenged, raising an eyebrow. "Then show us. Stand with us." Nathaniel took a deep breath, summoning the strength hidden beneath layers of self-doubt. "You're right, Patrice," he said, his voice steadying with each word. "I can't keep turning a blind eye. I need to be better not just for my image, but for all of you." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Was he really serious? Could this billionaire really change things? As he scanned the faces around him, he saw that same spark of hope reflected in more than just Angela's gaze. Fear turned to cautious curiosity, and then to something deeper, the desire for authenticity. "Let us work together," Nathaniel continued, his heart pounding. "Let us rethink how we can rebuild trust and support each other." Patrice nodded, a glimmer of approval surfacing in her eyes. "That's a start, Nathaniel. But we need action, not just words." Before he could respond, the murmur turned into a wave of voices rising around him, expressing disbelief, hope, and skepticism all at once. What about the funding for the outreach programs? How can we trust him after all this? Nathaniel held his hands up, calling for silence. "I understand your concerns. I've neglected this community, but I won't let fear dictate my path any longer. I'm going to correct my course, starting today." With those words, something shifted. The crowd, previously fractured into believers and doubters, began to lean in. Nathaniel could see the glimmers of connection forming, the power of his honesty weaving a fragile bond anew. Suddenly he felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. He was still surrounded by uncertainty, but he could feel the stirrings of potential of shared purpose. "Let us not waste any more time," Nathaniel urged. "Help me plan a meeting where we can address our issues head-on. Release the headlines, focus on the truth, focus on all of us." A woman near the front called out, "What kind of help can you offer? How will this look?" Nathaniel's eyes lit with determination. "I'll open my doors, my resources. Together, we can uplift this community. We need to move past the rumors and focus on creating change. We'll transform this narrative from scandal to solidarity." Patrice smiled, the storm of judgment around them beginning to lift. "That's the spirit, Nathaniel. But remember, words are just words without actions." His resolve solidified in the warmth of her encouragement. The crowd's hope began to swell into something powerful, a community ready to reclaim their voice, united behind a leader who was finally ready to listen. But as Nathaniel took a step forward, the journalist stepped closer, ready to capture this moment. "Do you really think they'll follow you? Or is this just a performance?" Nathaniel paused, the tension creeping back in. The question loomed over them, a reminder that trust had to be earned. "Believe me, this isn't a performance, it's a commitment," Nathaniel declared, locking eyes with the journalist, then sweeping his gaze over the crowd. The real work starts now. Can you all trust me? Silence filled the air once more, thick with expectation. The crowd's collective breath hung in the balance, ready for his next move and for his promise to become reality. Would he be able to push through the doubt? Would they give him a chance to make it right? The storm might have passed, but the challenge was just beginning. Nathaniel stood amidst the crowd, the weight of their gazes pressing in like a thick fog. Each face represented a heart, a story, a chance for redemption or disappointment. Their silence felt like a canvas, stark and waiting, and Nathaniel's mind raced to imagine how he could paint it with hope. Will you trust me? He repeated, his voice steady even as his heart thudded wildly. The words hung in the air, stark against an anxious silence. Then came a voice from the back, unmistakably firm. Trust is earned, not given, declared a woman with graying hair, her weathered features etched with wisdom. Murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd, raising a palpable energy. Of course it is, Nathaniel responded, nodding. And I know I've broken trust. But I want to rebuild it. I can't change the past, but I can show you that I care about our future. Let us start with listening. Listening? Patrice chimed in, stepping closer. That's a good start. But we need to see action. You're in a position to shake things up, Nathaniel. Show us you're serious. Mariah stood to his side, an unwavering pillar of support. You can do this, she whispered, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. Those small words ignited a fire in Nathaniel's chest, a reminder of what he was fighting for. Then let us make it happen. Nathaniel exclaimed, his voice rising in fervor. Let us gather at the community center and talk about everything: the foundation, the outreach, the stories that need to be shared. I want to hear your voices, not just mine on a page. Let us craft a future together. A hand shot up near the front, a young woman, her face cautious yet curious. And what if the media twists our voices? What if they only want the scandal? Nathaniel took a deep breath, feeling the shift within him. If they twist our words, we'll own our truth. We will not shy away from who we are or what we care about. Together, we will build a community resilient enough to silence the noise. Applause broke out, hesitant but growing, a ripple of hope turning into waves. This is our moment. Someone shouted, and that burst of energy seemed to galvanize the crowd. But just when the excitement surged, a voice from the back piped up. You expect us to believe it? We've heard too many promises. The skepticism hit hard, and Nathaniel felt the flame of doubt start to flicker again. I understand, he said slowly. So what do I need to do to prove myself? A middle-aged man stepped forward. You need to show up. Be present. Go out into the community, meet us where we are. Yes. Patrice added, a nod of agreement. We see you in the boardroom, but we need to see how you handle the grind. We want to see the Nathaniel who cares, not just the billionaire who shows up in crises. Nathaniel's resolve solidified as he took an unwavering step forward. Then that's what I'll do. I'll volunteer, I'll listen beyond the headlines, I'll be there. Another hand rose up in the air, this time from a young boy, his face serious even as he held a slight quiver of uncertainty. What if your plans don't work? What if nobody listens? Nathaniel met his gaze, heart aching for the fear of his doubt. Then I'll learn. Failure is part of the journey. But we will continue to fight together. Trust takes time, and I'm willing to put in the work. For each of you. The boy nodded slightly, reassured. The crowd began to ripple again, a wave of voices sparking with energy. They were sparking with something more, an awakening of hope. With the lecture waves pushing through the audience, Nathaniel felt something shift within himself. He was a man walking a tightrope, yes. Yet now, it felt exhilarating because the tightrope connected him to every heart in that crowd. I am going to step into this fight. Together we're going to tell our truth. He called out, adrenaline pumping through his veins. As the crowd erupted in applause, laughter, and voices filled with connection and cheer, Nathaniel nearly wept. For the first time in a long time, he felt free. Angela emerged from the side, leaning against a doorway, legs bandaged but spirit unfazed. "Don't forget about us," she said, her voice stronger now. "And if you stumble, let us know. We'll be here." "Thank you," Nathaniel replied, his heart swelling. As the noise climbed to a crescendo, he shared a knowing look with Mariah, uncertain but united in this moment of rebirth. No longer held by the chains of doubt, together they stood at the threshold of something profound. He turned to face the audience, people who now believed a little more, ready to share their stories, ready to face the world hand in hand. "From today, I am promising to bring light, support, and integrity to everyone who has been underserved. It's time to rise, together." And in that moment, with the storm inside him finally calmed, Nathaniel knew that he had stepped into his truth not just for himself but for every life intertwined with his. As laughter, clapping, voices filled the air, there was something genuinely tangible, a transformation. It was more than just a courtroom victory, it was the dawn of a new day, a day filled with humanity, connection, and a heart that beat for a community ready to rise. Now, all he had to do was hold on to that unity, guiding them into a bright future. This was their moment. Your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.